Welcome to our second lesson on Microsoft Excel. My name is Nicholas Sikali. In our first lesson, we talked about definition of Excel. We explained, or you were taught, that Excel belongs to the spreadsheet industry, and you are also taken through the window of Excel, the parts of Microsoft Excel window. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to manage a workbook and a worksheet. Now, a workbook refers to a single open file in Microsoft Excel. That is a workbook, a single open file in Microsoft Excel. Like what is open here is book 1. So it means the entire file that is open before us is what we are referring to as a workbook. So this is book 1, though the name can be changed later as you are going to learn how to rename a workbook. Now, a worksheet refers to an interaction or an intersection between several rows and columns. So a worksheet refers to an intersection between several rows and columns. And you are seeing here, we have rows and we have columns. Columns are usually identified by alphabets. So we have column A, column B, column C, column D, all the way to, of course, the last column here, X, F, D. That is the last column. Rows are usually identified by numbers. You can see row 1, row 2, row 3, all the way to the last row, which is 1,048,576. So that one is the last row in Excel there. Currently, a workbook comes with one worksheet. So you can see sheet 1 here. A workbook comes with one worksheet. That's why we are seeing sheet 1. But a user can be able to add worksheets and can also be able to remove worksheets. Now, in previous versions of Excel, workbooks used to come with up to 3 worksheets. So we used to have up to 3 worksheets, but currently we only have one worksheet in a workbook. So when talking about the workbook-worksheet relationship, it's just like your normal book, one book, but if you open or if you flip through that book, it have different pages or different sheets of paper. So even in Excel, you can work or you can work with one workbook, but you can also be able to introduce different types of sheets, just like your book has different sheets or pages. Now, having known the difference between a workbook and a worksheet, let us start by learning how to save a workbook. How do you save a workbook? Now, to save a workbook, you click on File, then you select Save. Or you can also use Save As if you're saving for the subsequent time and you want to change the file name. So you click on File and you select Save. This will provide you an opportunity to save either in your recent places. You can save it in OneDrive. You can save it in this PC. You can add a place that you want to save your work. Or you can browse through the computer. Let us browse through the computer and see where we want to save our work. So we have browsed through and you can see this allocation here. Currently, it means that you are saving this particular workbook in documents. Inside this PC, but in documents. You can be able to change the location that you want to save your work. It can be in desktop, downloads, documents, pictures, or wherever you want to save. Let's say we want to save our work in the desktop. So it changes immediately. It is inside this PC, but now it's from documents to desktop. Now you can save here, but remember it's usually very important that you create a folder under which you want to save your work. So folders are meant for you to save your files. So there are different folders that have already been created here, but I want to save my workbook in a new folder. So there's an option of create new folder, which I'll click on. Once you click on new folder, you will see a new folder here created for you. And you can easily change the name from new folder 3 to another folder name like introduction to MS Excel. So I can give that as my folder name. You can edit if you feel like you want to edit anything. Once you have introduction to MS Excel or whichever name you want to give it, you can double click to open that folder, or you can click on open here. So either way it works. Remember, we are now inside that folder. You can see the location has changed here. You are saving it on the desktop, but inside a folder known as introduction to MS Excel. This folder has just been created now. So you can also change the file name from book 1 to another file name, assuming that we want to give it a name, Excel practice. So you can give it Excel practice. And there we have. So we've changed the name from book 1 now to Excel practice. After that, you can just click on save and it will be saved. What you notice here is that the name has changed from Excel practice. Now it is written, the name has changed from book 1 and it's now Excel practice. So that's how to save a workbook. Then if you close it, assuming we close that workbook, even if you go to the desktop, you will be able to view that we have that folder that we just created, Introduction to Excel. This is our desktop, Introduction to MS Excel. If you open it, you will see that Excel file, which is a workbook that was changed from book 1 to Excel practice. So you can see Excel practice. If you click on it, it opens the way ours has opened again. So that is how you save a workbook. Now, assuming that you want to change the name, then you'll be using Save As. That means that, remember, the current name is Excel Practice. If you want to change it, click on File. Now you can use Save As. If you use Save, it won't give you that opportunity to change the name or even change the location. But if you want to change the name and again change the location, now we'll be using Save As. So if you click on Save As, then you locate where we saved it. It gives you an opportunity again to be able to change the name. So this is Excel practice. If you want to change, that can work. So we don't want to change, so I'll cancel and go back to our workbook, which is open. Now that is how to save a workbook. There is also creating worksheets. Remember, earlier on, I gave you a difference between a workbook and a worksheet. A worksheet simply refers to different or several pages that are created inside a workbook, and it consists of an intersection of rows and columns. So several intersection of rows and columns make a worksheet. This entire place where you are seeing intersection of rows and columns is a worksheet. Columns are headed by alphabets. Rows are headed by numbers. A single intersection between a row and a column is known as a cell. A single intersection between a row and a column is known as a cell. For example, this is cell A1, where my cursor is. This is cell A1. You can see it's written here, A1. If you move here, this becomes cell B1. If you click here, this one becomes cell C5. You can see C5 here. So it keeps telling you the cell that you are in, cell F3. So when reading a cell, Excel starts with the column heading, following it up with the row heading. So column F, row 3, or column D, row 2, or column S, row 5, or the last one here is column T, row 20, hence the name T20. So the first one is usually known as A1. If you select a group of cells together, that is a range. So a group of cells selected together is referred to as a range. A good example, if I click on cell B2, I hold down my mouse and drag down, that becomes that range this is range B2 all the way to B11. Though here, it only gives the name of the first cell, B2. But when writing it, it is B2 all the way to B11. Ranges are separated by full colons. So if you are writing it down in a formula, it will be from the first cell to the last cell. So this is B2, full colon, B11. B2, so maybe that one is B2, then full colon, it was up to, let's say, B11. So that's how you write ranges of cells. So B2 is here all the way to B11. B2, B11. Remember, you can even select this way. This one becomes B3 to G3. B3, G3, separated by a full colon. What if you select like this? That one becomes A2 because it starts, B2 it starts from B2, the white one here, B2 to the last cell. So it will be B2 all the way to I14. B2 to I14, the ones that are white, B2 to I14. So that's how you identify cells and also how you identify ranges in a worksheet. So the key terms there, we have a workbook, we have a worksheet, we have a row, we have a column, and we have a range. Those are very, very important key terms that we'll be using in Excel. Now, back to how you create a worksheet. Remember, I told you that a workbook comes with one created worksheet, but you can be able to create more. How do you create a new worksheet? It's a very, very simple simple task. At the end of sheet 1, you can see sheet 1 here at the bottom. There is a plus. The plus is known as new sheet. You can see new sheet. If you click on the plus, it gives you sheet 2 now. If you click on the plus again, it gives you sheet 3. Now from one sheet, now we have 3 sheets by creating them very fast. So if you are saying you have your data here, this is your financial accounting data in sheet 1. You can see in sheet 2, there is no financial accounting. You can write maybe cost accounting data. Then in sheet 3, you can be able to write maybe taxation data. Now, those are different worksheets that carry different things. Just like in your book, you can write something in page 1, in page 2, and in page 3, but in one book. So that is what worksheets do in Excel. Now that's how you create a worksheet. Or apart from just clicking on the plus, there is also another way of creating a worksheet by clicking on insert here. So there is, under the home menu, there is cells. Under cells, there is insert. Then you can see insert sheet. You just click on insert sheet, you'll see sheet 4 here. Again, you can be able to just click on insert, then insert sheet. So that's another way of inserting. They keep being created that way. So that's how you create worksheets in Microsoft Excel. You can create as many worksheets as you want. A good application of where the worksheets could be used, is where you are a payroll a personnel or a human resource personnel, and you are trying to come up with a payroll for the year 2022. So this one could be a payroll for January, for February, for March, April, May, all the way to December. So it means you'll be having 12 worksheets containing payrolls for the 12 months of that particular year. So the workbook name will be Payroll 2022. So Workbook Payroll 2022. Then the worksheets will be having the different months that are there in a year. So that is creation of a worksheet. How then do we rename a worksheet? Let's say we are renaming a worksheet. And assuming that this one is January. So to rename a worksheet, you can double click on it with your mouse. You can double click on it. Of course, if you double click, it will be active and you give it a name. Or you can right click and rename. You can right click on the worksheet and rename. So you just right click here on the worksheet. Remember, don't right click inside a cell like this. It won't give you that option. You right click on the sheet that you want to change and select rename. This one will be February. You can keep changing the names. This one can be March. You can right click and give this a name April. You can right click and give the last one a name May. Now when giving these names, you can see January, February, March, April and May. Avoid, there are some characters that are not used. For instance, if I create a new worksheet here and I'm renaming this to June, let's say June, and maybe I put some funny character like a comma or something like that, there are those specific characters that are not accepted when renaming worksheets. Something like, let's see, June, can say June, something like a question mark. Let's say you want a question mark, or you want those things are not allowed when renaming worksheets. So we can give it June the normal way, like that. So there is January, February, March, April, May, and June. So that's how you create and that's how you rename these worksheets. Now, having renamed the worksheets, let us also learn how to delete a worksheet. What if you want to delete a worksheet? Now, deleting a worksheet, again, you will right click on the worksheet and just select delete. Remember, the process of deleting a worksheet is irreversible. You cannot undo. So always confirm if indeed you want to delete that worksheet before deleting it. So I will delete it. It's gone. Or you can just go to under cells here, then select delete, then delete sheet. It also helps you in deleting that worksheet. You can see, we'll permanently delete this. Do you want to continue? Say yes. So May is also gone. So we remain with January, February, March, and April as our worksheets. Having created that, we also want to learn how to change the worksheet tab colors. You can also be able to change the worksheet tab colors. The same thing, you can right click, then you select tab color, then you can give it any color. So we've given a color for January. You won't be able to see it unless you click on the next worksheet. For instance, you can see now the green. You can even change to another color if you want. March can be given another color. So this one requires people who have a good taste in selecting different colors. You can see. Then there's the last color here, which can be yellow. So all those worksheets now have colors from January, February, March to the last one. So this can go on and on and on as you create worksheets, as you delete them, as you rename them, as you change the color. Now one can also hide a worksheet. If you want to hide a worksheet, for instance, you don't want February to appear, you can right click and hide a worksheet. But if you want to unhide, of course, you can unhide a worksheet. It comes back. You can see February was hidden, it now comes back. So you can also be able to unhide all these options. You can see insert, delete, rename, there is hide and all that. Tab color and that. So there's January all the way to April. Now there's also another very important thing. One can be able to copy or move a worksheet. You can copy or move a worksheet. So assuming I want to copy this worksheet. Remember, it can be copied and moved either to the same workbook or in different workbooks. Assuming I want to copy January and replicate it, remember January is written financial accounting. I can right click. I'll select move or copy. Under move or copy, they are asking you, you are moving it to which book? Is it the same book? Our book is known as Excel Practice. Or you want a new book. If you want a new book, you can also be able to create a new book. So I want to move it to the same workbook given this name. So I'm not changing. It is the same workbook. Excel Practice, which is the same here, Excel Practice. So it's Excel Practice. Then you are moving it where? Before which sheet? Before January, before February, before March, or before April. Or you can move it to end. So I want to move it to end. So you click on move to end. Then you create copy. So for you to be copying, then it will force you to create copy. Otherwise you will be moving. So if you don't create copy here, you will be moving it. Okay? Then you can see there's January, and there's also January in bracket 2 to the end. So there's January in bracket 2 to the end. It means you've copied this worksheet and taken it to the end. Remember we said move to end. So there's another January. If you click on the first January, you can see financial accounting. If you click on the last January, you can also see financial accounting. So that's how you copy a worksheet. A user can also move a worksheet. Now, copying means that you leave the original in the place that you found it. Moving means that you take entirely a worksheet from one place and take it or transfer it to a new area without leaving a copy to the initial, from the initial destination. So I want us to move January in bracket 2. We are moving this. So you right click in it, or you right click on January. Then select move or copy, move or copy. Then you say to book. So we are moving it to a new book, not Excel Practice. We are moving it to a new book. So you click on new book. Don't create copy. If you don't create copy, it means you are moving. If you create copy, it means you are copying it, and the original will be placed there, will remain at the place that you found it. So we are not creating copy. You just click on OK and it has moved. Now this is a different workbook, and you can see January 2, it has been transferred here. Our financial accounting remains here. Now it's a new book because you can see it's written book 1. Our book, you can see it at the background there. It's written Excel Practice. But this one is known as book 1. So this one is a totally new workbook. So that is moving a workbook from one workbook, moving a worksheet from one workbook to another worksheet. Moving a worksheet from one workbook to another workbook. So I want to close book 1. I don't need it. And I'll not save it. Don't save. So there is no January 2 because we moved it entirely from this workbook of Excel Practice to a new workbook which was created and named book 1. So there's January, February, March, and April. So those are very, very important tasks that you can be able to perform in workbook and worksheet management. Finally, the last thing that we will be looking at is how to protect your worksheets. Remember, data that has been created here can be protected. You protect it from unauthorized editing. You also protect it from maybe somebody who wants to make changes which you have not approved. So assuming that we have financial accounting, then we have student, then we have semester 1, we have semester 2, and we have semester 3. You can have Julie. You can have Patrick or Patty. Patrick. You can also have Carlos, like that. And they have scored 50. This one has scored 60, 76. Then this one has scored here 65, 40, 54, 69, 80, 50, and 44. Remember, the worksheet January is editable. One can be able to easily edit and do anything that they want. If you want to get the totals, the totals can also be able to be obtained, of course. But what we want to do is to protect so that nobody can add something else. So for you to protect editing of these worksheets, right-click on January. Right-click on that worksheet that you want to protect. Or you can go to, there was also another area of protecting worksheet under the cells here. You can see under cells, this format from which you can be able to protect sheet. So I want us to protect this worksheet using the simplest way. You right-click on January and select Protect Sheet. Then what are you protecting it from? You can be able to select all these things so that nobody can be able to do anything. So there is allow all users of this window too. You can see, do you want to allow anything? We don't want to allow anything. You can protect worksheet and contents of the locked cells. So you just insert a password. Any password, like ours here is 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's say, okay, you again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Confirm the password and you click on OK. So it means the data here cannot be edited. A user cannot, or somebody who is not authorized to edit cannot. You can't type anything. If you try typing anything, they are saying that the cell or chart you are trying to change is on protected sheet. To make a change and protect the sheet, of course, you might be requested to enter a password. So you can't do anything. You look at the home menu, all these things are inactive. Insert menu, inactive. Page layout, few of them are inactive. The formulas, and you cannot be able to do anything. The data, most of the items, especially in the home menu, are inactive. So you cannot add anything to this particular worksheet unless you have the password. So that is how you protect worksheet. If you want to unprotect that particular worksheet, again you right click on it and select unprotect. But before we unprotect, what about these other worksheets like February? Remember, it's January that is protected. Looking at February, it's very active. You can be able to continue typing whatever you want. March is not protected, so you can type whatever you want. April is not protected, you can type whatever you want. Coming back to January, it is protected, and trying to write anything is disallowed. So that's how you protect a worksheet in Microsoft Excel. To unprotect it, you right click on it and select Unprotect Sheet. So Unprotect Sheet, you provide the password 1, 2, 3, 4, and you click on OK. It means it's now unprotected. And again, if you want to add done, you can be able to add done and insert the marks that done got in that order. So that's how you protect worksheets and unprotect worksheet. That marks the end of that particular lesson. But before I sign out, you have some tasks to do. In this lesson, we learned how to save a workbook. We learned how to create worksheets. We learned how to rename them, how to delete them, how to change the worksheets tab color, how to copy and move them, and how to protect worksheets. Your task to do is to create a workbook, give it a name of your choice. So tasks to do: create a worksheet, create a worksheet, not a worksheet but a workbook, and name it, let's say payroll. Name it payroll 2022. Save it in a folder named ABC Limited, created on the desktop, then create 12 worksheets, inside your workbook, giving them not giving them, but naming them from January to December, Give your worksheets different tab colors, So we'll be editing. So give your worksheets different tab colors. And finally, try and type in some data. In worksheet named May and protect it with a password. So that is your task to do. Maybe the last task is that try and copy or move worksheets. Move one worksheet from your current workbook to a new workbook. So once you worked with these tasks that I've typed here, then it means that your understanding of this particular lesson would have been enhanced. Thank you, and see you in our next lesson.